What's up, gamers? Welcome to another Solana circuit number 35. And this is actually a very special Solana circuit because we are bringing back a previous guest just because they were so based on the last stream. We'll be talking a little bit more about them, but first things first, David, how the hell are you doing today, brother?
I am doing all right. I must say, all of my button-down shirts are in the laundry today. So you guys get the original, the OG Solana hoodie. I don't know if you guys can see that on the camera, but very yeah.
Oh.
I get to flex the Solana hoodie because it's honestly one of my favorite pieces of merch I've ever gotten from anywhere. Um, Although I just realized the person I got it from was not necessarily my favorite person, because I got it directly from SBF himself when they did a like a Solana merch package or whatever. And it had like the old Solana logo and some weird pattern on like a really shitty T-shirt and some flip flops and some other stuff. But yeah, yeah,
Wait,
I don't
like
really know how
he
I got
did
on
he
that topic,
like
but
did he personally hand you the merch like in person?
no, I literally DM'd him and I was like, hey, what do I do to get one of those like Solana and FTX merch packages? And he's like, send me your address. I was like, bet.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
insane. I really wanted one of those FTX hats that they had or any sort of FTX merch because I feel like that would be such a flex to go to like a crypto conference and wear like an FTX hoodie or something like that. Like that'd be so cool.
I mean, I don't know. It might get you beaten up depending.
Yeah, if you saw me wearing it, you might beat my ass. So I completely believe that. But and you know, mentioning SBF, it's like it's so weird how far removed Solana has become from like SBF and FTX. Like back in the day, Solana was like the FTX chain, it felt like. Like SBF was such a kingmaker for the chain, but it really feels like Solana's kind of come into its own and really became a leader in the block space game. And just because we got fast blocks and cheap transactions, we do it really damn well.
Well, that, but I think also SBF kind of helped kickstart some of the momentum from builders. But now we've just got like this massive growing ecosystem of builders, one of whom, as you said, we are bringing back, and that is Ben. Ben, how
Hey
you doing,
everyone,
brother?
I'm good, and you guys? Glad to be here for the second time.
Welcome back, sir. This is Ben from CircularFi. We had them on an episode a while ago. I don't remember the specific number, but they specialize in MEV on Solana. But instead of me telling you what they do, who better to give an intro on Circular and Ben himself than Ben? Give us a lowdown on what you do and what exactly is CircularFi for people that did not watch the last stream.
Sure. So basically, we arrive in Solana and start Solana in 2023 by doing arbitrage. So arbitrage between liquidity pools. Just to give you like an example of what is arbitrage, basically, it's just like when you do a trade, for example, when you trade meme coin, stocks, or whatever assets on Solana. If you have like a huge trade size, or you will trade like a token with like low liquidity, you will have an impact of the market. You will impact the price by your trade. What we do is analyze and do arbitrage between liquidity pools. So you will, I will say, increase or decrease the price of an asset on a liquidity pool. What we will do is restabilize this liquidity pool to be like sure every price is the same for a specific asset on over like on the whole market and all on the all liquidity pool on Solana. So we start by doing arbitrage. We jump on Solana and we start doing arbitrage. And then in 2024, we had this problematic of okay, we do arbitrage, but we are not able to track our data. Like we just generated too many transactions by days. It was like a huge amount of data. So we at this time think about okay, we absolutely need to create like a dashboard to track all data first. Then we start to track our competitor to have like a much better understanding of the market, and then we arrive to this conclusion of it's everyone have the same problematic as us. So we push publicly Circular. and we start to have this idea of giving transparency across the market. Now we are the leader and the most viewed website across like MEV. If you want to have like overall idea of what's going on arbitrage and MEV in general, people go on Circular. So that's the what we build with the Circular dashboard at first is to give this transparency and what's going on the market. And now, since a few months now, we create like a monetization layer. So basically, what is a monetization layer? It's the idea of monetizing your transaction. Basically, the apps or even Trader itself is like monetizing by fees majority of the transaction. The apps and like a third party overall in the market is monetizing by fees. What we do is monetizing by the impact on the market. So basically, you are traders, you are the app. You can send us the transaction, and we will predict the price, the impact on the market based on your trade, and then do the arbitrage and give it back directly to you, a majority of the profit generated by the transaction and by the arbitrage. So that's what we do in Circular. First, we developed and give transparency across the market, so about MEV and about arbitrage, and now we're proposing solution to do this arbitrage for you directly and give it to you back majority of the profit.
Gotcha. So does this work, as in like when you say give back the profit, are you talking about like the D app itself or the like the program it integrates and then sends you the transaction? Or are you talking about this is something the user chooses to do?
So basically, it's the one that share with us the transaction. So it can be the DApp or the traders itself. So when we receive the transaction, we also receive a wallet for the cashback profit. And so if the transaction we receive will create an impact on the market and will create an arbitrage opportunity, we will give back the cashback, so the profit generated by the arbitrage transaction directly to the wallet that was provided by with the transaction. So we receive two things: we receive the transaction and the cashback wallet. That's how we manage the profit and give it back directly to the flow provider, as we describe it. So the one that share with us the transaction.
So I'd like to take a step back here and kind of start from the beginning. Who is Ben? Like, what were you doing before Circular? What
Right.
inspired you to start Circular? I mean, obviously, me and David know, but would love to give the audience a little more perspective on, what are the origins of Circular?
Sure. So the origin of Circular, it's as I mentioned, it's more like it was really a need for us at first to track our data and to really understand what's our transaction and just overall what we are doing on Solana in terms of transaction, in terms of activity, wallet activity. And yeah, just like smoothly Circular move forwards to like a personal and like the Circular dashboard for intern data to the Circular now, the one like full transparent and full public to everyone. So we just evolve like this. And who is Ben to answer to your question? I can give you like a small background quickly. Like I discovered the crypto in 2015, 2016 from Bitcoin. At this time, I manage. I was like a Minecraft server owner, I would say. So I create like a lot of Minecraft servers at this time. And yeah, at this moment, 2015, 2016, one of my developers asked me to be paid in Bitcoin. Was like, the fuck is Bitcoin? So I started to learn a bit and just yeah, discovering, I would say, this ecosystem. But I will not say like I was like a crypto lover at this time. It was more like, okay, I have Bitcoin as a payment method, but I didn't catch really the idea behind Bitcoin at this time. It was more in 2017 when the smart contract goes like available, I would say, in Ethereum. At this time, I really understood like the powerful of the blockchain because I was able as a developer to develop into the blockchain. So at this time, I really understood the blockchain, and I think I started to spend my whole life in this ecosystem. And yeah, then like time pass. 2021, I create like a social network on based on NFT during like the bull run of NFT. It was like, I think, one of my biggest project at that time. Yeah, finally, like the NFT market, as you know, it's not the best one right now. So we in 2022, 2023, we just stopped the project, and then I moved to Solana to do arbitrage and create a circular, and yeah, that's my background.
From Minecraft servers to MEV. I love to see it. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a serious problem, and I'm pretty sure we talked about this in the last stream that there's a serious data problem on Solana. It's very, very difficult for people to understand what's happening on chain and how they can take advantage of it. I mean, we have tools like SoulScan, tools like Orb from Helios are doing a really good job of kind of making this on-chain data more digestible for humans, but you guys are more focused
Yeah.
on like where's the arbitrage? And actually, one of the things that I really remember from the last time we talked is you said that MEV is actually the most organic way to find like activity behind a meme coin. And I'm curious,
Sure.
have you put that strategy to work since we last talked? Like, have you yourself been able to participate in a coin and like you were able to make some money on it because of this strategy, or do you know anybody that took advantage of it? Like any fun stories there?
Yeah, of course. I would say like this kind of way to do arbitrage. So yeah, let's describe, I would say, like the first, the main method to do arbitrage, and then I can answer properly to your question. First of all, like there is three main way to do arbitrage right now. The one is like the shreds analysis. So when you will get the information as soon as possible from the validator. From so like the new validate transaction, you will get like the information as soon as possible to define if this transaction create an opportunity or not. This is like one of the most common in the past and still one of the most common now. The second one is the one we do with the monetization layer. So getting the transaction in advance before they land, before they will be confirmed on the network, to predict the impact on the blockchain. So of course it's I would say much harder to do it in this way because you need to predict. So in terms of predictions, you need to be like catch up 100% with the network to have like a 100% accurate prediction. When I say catch up, it's more like to have all the information in real time. And you have the third way, which was like one of the most popular last year, but it's not really anymore. It's the spam. When you spam a lot of transaction on chain, and at this time it's your program will define if an opportunity of arbitrage exists or not. Which means like instead of taking a transaction, predicting the impact and creating your arbitrage transaction, you will just send a transaction to the network, and it's your program, your smart contract, that will try to find an opportunity of arbitrage. So if we think about it, it's probably one of the best methods to do arbitrage. But based on the concept and the architecture of Solana, you can't do it like in Ethereum or EVM. You need to select a really small amount of liquidity pool. You can go up to 6 liquidity pools, 7 liquidity pool maximum if you will manage your lookup table. So up to 7 liquidity pools during your analysis on your transaction. And every transaction cost you at least 5,000 lampos. That will change in the future, but it's another subject. So in this way, you need to have like a lot of opportunity that happen on the markets to be profitable. So you can use to define more accurately which liquidity pool you will focus during your analysis on your spam transaction. So you can base everything on the arbitrage revenue, and like every kind of MEV generated on this liquidity pool and this token, because more MEV you have, so more arbitrage you have on a liquidity pool, more it mean like you have a real activities from real users. Because as a wash trader, it's not really useful to create fake opportunities. You will just lose money. And so, like 2 years ago, it was 25% of all the arbitrage transaction that was spam transaction. Now we are more around 5 to 10% because the market is like slower than 1 year ago, and now it starts to be much more harder to be profitable by just spamming the network with shitty transaction, I would say. So that was like this kind of analysis was super powerful for arbitrage 1 year ago. Now it's a bit different, and I would say like kind of not impossible, but much more harder to be profitable. So that means yes, um, of course, like if you base like your trending token on a MEV revenue, it makes sense. But for doing arbitrage, it's another way now because the market is much more slowest.
Yeah, well, there's been a couple like sort of things that have fed into that because like you were saying like a year ago, we didn't have stuff like, the RPC like overhaul and everything. We didn't have sort of this availability of like you said, like the current state of the network, where it's like that was an expensive thing and very difficult for somebody who wasn't operating a very large validator or paying one or more people who are to kind of keep that data stream or data available the availability of that data to them, right? So it was very hard to get a good look at like what's the actual state of the network. And so spam was kind of the option where it's like, okay, well, it's really expensive for me to try to like model and keep track of what the network actually looks like at like low latency level. So, let's just spam transactions and most of them are going to fail or a bunch of them are going to fail. And the ones that don't are going to make enough money that it's, on average it ends up working out. But now that everybody has the availability to kind of say like, "Oh, no, we can just see what's going on," or at least it's a lot easier to. You can get a lot closer to it. It's like, yeah, you're just gonna lose money if you're spamming because everybody else is gonna be like, "No, I'm just not gonna send a transaction if I don't have a reason to believe it's gonna work," right? And they can actually, like, make that comparison now.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, I did a twist recently on that. We can see like a sort of correlation between also the monetization layers or order flow happen on Solana since 1 year. Just in comparison on the last 3 months, so 30% of arbitrage transaction was spam 3 months ago during like a peak of activity. Now it's more like a 10% to 15%. Why? Because also like so monetization layers and order flow, it starts growing and growing, take a lot of market shares. Right now, I think it's like around 40% of the arbitrage is driven by monetization layers or just order flow in general. And that decrease also a lot the spam transaction on the network because this kind of opportunity is taken by an order flow monetization layer and that not give like necessarily the opportunity to spammers to take this opportunity, so they become less profitable and less profitable, and so that the direct impact on them is to decreasing the spam on the network. It's also healthier in a certain way if we think about it.
So you're talking a lot about like spam in the network. I guess this isn't really related, but with Alpenglow kind of around the corner and reducing block times to 250 milliseconds, I believe that number is correct. What do you think that's going to do to the landscape of MEV? Because obviously MEV searchers are going to have a lot less time to go into these transactions, figure out where the value is, and find a way to maximize it, right? So what do you think that's going to do to MEV, and what's your hottest take on it?
Yeah, so great question. A lot of people asking me this question lately. I think for me, like the impact will be it's I would say it's hard to predict, but I don't think the impact will be huge, to be honest. Why? Because right now, all I would say like the top 25 of searchers, even the top 50 on Circular is everyone is like calculating their opportunity in less than 1 millisecond. So it's more like a term of how many time did you take to receive the transaction in comparison to just calculate the opportunity. The impact on the calculation and the prediction will be nothing. It's more like on the way of maybe you will get some fastest transaction, but as I said just before, the numbers of order flow and monetization is growing and growing. So the impact will be not a lot. Even like we will have no impact on the order flow or people managing transaction in advance before landing. And for people analyzing shreds, right now, like I would say the trends, it's more on pre-confirmed transaction in comparison to shreds. Shreds was like the fastest way, the fastest source of transaction for a long time ago. But more and more and more solution now starts to provide pre-confirmed transaction, which is like really much faster sources of transaction in comparison to shreds. So I think the impact will be not huge, to be honest, because we are already super fast. I don't say we as Circular, but we like every person operate on the market is already like super fast to calculate everything. So yeah, maybe if we decrease the block time at 10 milliseconds, that will have an impact. Decreasing to 200 milliseconds, I think the impact will not be huge on MEV and arbitrage, to be honest.
Yeah,
At least with this configuration of the market.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because there's kind of like the three different parts, right? Where it's like, okay, what's the speed of data arrival to you? Like, how quickly do you know that there's something you need to process, right? Like, make this decision about. Then you have your program that decides, okay, now that I have this information about this transaction that's coming in, somebody made a big market buy on whatever pool. What do I do about it? That's always been like the fastest thing, right? Where it's like compute is measured in nanoseconds, microseconds, stuff like that, like clock cycles, realistically. And then the third part is then getting that information, like landing that information or landing that result as a transaction, which a lot of the times is going to be on the same machine or at least very, very close to it, like physically, right? Um, so yeah, the biggest like bottleneck is mostly just like getting the information on what's actually happening, like what are the incoming changes, and there's not like a whole lot that given the nature of the blockchain that like we're trying to synchronize information around the globe, right? There's always going to be like we're always going to be limited by the speed of light, right? And so I don't know off the top of my head how long it takes for light to circumnavigate the globe, but that's kind of like the limit. You know what I mean? Like that's about as fast as we can get. I can't think of a way that unless we unlock some really weird like entangled quantum entangled particle computing networking something or other, and I don't know, AI invents something magical. That's kind of just going to be
Yeah.
like the bottleneck, I think, for the foreseeable future, realistically, right?
Yeah, sure. I think, to be honest, for me, the hugest impact, like Hypenglow will have on the chain, is more related to the data side. As an example, on Circular, we analyze only confirm and finalized transaction because we want to have yeah, I mean, process transaction is so uncertain for us in terms of finality to process it on our pipeline. So some part of our data is still on finalized statement, and yeah, we will catch up the leader more efficiently, I would say. So probably like um, the I would say the data will be available as fast, more faster on Circular when Alpenglow will be adopted by every validators. But yeah, I think it's more like an efficiency side that will improve the chain. Of course, like I think this statement is a pain for a lot of people managing the data, especially in real time. So yeah, that the improvement on the data side will be huge for every DApp, every application that use the chain in general. But yeah, not a lot, not a huge impact on arbitrage and on MEV in general.
So I remember you guys were building this browser extension. You were talking about
Yep.
it on the last stream. You showed it to me personally while we were at Accelerate. Um,
Yep.
Where are you guys at with that? Or is that something you guys are still actively developing? If so, like how has traction been with it?
Yeah, uh, I think it's a hard question, to be honest, because so we did Harmony for the Colosseum Hackathon. So we proposed this idea of okay guys, as a trader you lost a lot of value. It was like before the monetization layer, and yeah, we had this thought of traders lost a lot of value on Solana for sure as a traders, and so why not giving them the ability to make arbitrage on their own transaction? So we created this extension, this browser extension, to as like an easy way to do arbitrage on their own transaction. So you can just download the extension, and yeah, then that's it. You go through the onboarding. You don't need to connect your wallets to put your public key or whatever. That just track your transaction across your browser, define like just track your transaction, send to our monetization layer, and then if your transaction create an arbitrage opportunity, you get your cash back directly into the wallet we generate for you into the browser extension. So it's kind of like a wallet, and but you don't use it as a wallet, you use it just to receive your cash back. The problematic we had on this product is, I mean, I think majority of the people on MEV know us and trust us, but no trader, any traders know us. Like we are not like in the trading ecosystem, so we didn't have like this trust of traders. And I think like 99% of the traders I spoke in the past and I present army was like, no, never, I download this. You will drain my wallet. It's a wallet drainer. That's the 99% of the people told me like wallet drainer. This word like wallet drainers, and so yeah, it's hard to get the trust of traders and to tell them like, no, it's good for you guys, no worries, because yeah, it's just
Because
hard
that's
for them
exactly what a
to
scam,
understand
what
the
somebody who's trying to drain your wallet would say, right? Where it's like you kind
yeah
of understand, where
yeah
it's like, yeah, like I get why you wouldn't want to do this. I wouldn't trust me either if I didn't
exactly.
know me.
Yeah.
I understood their point, and that's why we're not moving forward a lot, and we a bit stopped the development of this product, because, yeah, just it's not our ecosystem. We are not pretty good on this kind of marketing for traders. So let's refocus on the MEV, the arbitrage, and doing for companies for the monetization layers, and we try in a certain way to implement army on some products, some DApp, because we still have this thought of we can redispatch part of the value to traders, and so we try to have some big DApps to implement our monetization layer into their application, and have this kind of process, I would say, to you will take your cut as a DApp on the profit generated, and majority of the profit will be dispatched directly to your users. So not think about like, because just to go back on this, majority of the DApp I spoke, or like snipers bot or things like this, they already monetize the transaction of their users and keep the profit for themselves, or they don't monetize through arbitrage because they don't want to take the value of their users and generating money on top of them. I understand this point of view, but I think if you act in this way, it's more like saying, okay, I don't want to manage this, and I agree my user will lose money. This is not correct. I mean, another people doing arbitrage, so another searchers teams or whatever searcher firm will catch in any way this opportunity and this value. So is it maybe much profitable for the platform to install the monetization layer and give everything directly to the users instead of just letting their users leak a lot of value on the ecosystem? So this is this two kind of way we try to implement. If the companies want 100% of the revenue, it's okay for us. I mean, if you don't use our monetization layer, you will use a competitor. So in any case, if you want to keep the whole value for you, it's quite okay. But I would love in the future to have some different product, different app, different trading platform that give at least a half or a bit of this profit directly back to their users. Because we have the technology, we also have all the architecture to provide these services. So let like the trading platform take a cut on the profit share, but also giving a majority or part of the profit to the traders. So yeah, I would love to see like not Army integrated to trading platform, but the philosophy of Army integrated to natively to this platform in the future.
Yeah, this is causing me to have a thought, which is like I kind of had like several like a sort of chain of thought. I'm not sure if this will make sense as we're following it because my brain works weird. But I'm like, okay, yeah. And then my first thought was like, okay, this almost sounds kind of like the whole payment for order flow type thing that Robinhood does, right? Where it's like, okay, we can like, route our user transactions, to the open market or whatever, and and they'll lose some amount of money because of market makers having to quote, assuming that the flow might be adversarial or might not be, right? Whereas like, what's like realistically, anybody trading on Robinhood is flow that any market maker wants. It's uninformed, right? Um, but the uninformed flow is still paying the cost of that accrues in the broad market due to the existence of sharp flow, right? And so then Robinhood's like, okay, well, what if we sell our order flow to and offer payment for order flow, and then Robinhood, the platform, captures money from Citadel because Citadel says, okay, well, if we're going to get all this uninformed flow, which is valuable to us, we'll pay you, the platform, Robinhood, X amount of dollars, whatever that number is, I don't remember, a
Mm.
year, and so then that value accrues to the platform and then Citadel and others are able to. That's a whole other argument. Supposedly, let's assume that they're able to provide like a much more efficient market for the end user, right?
Yep.
And then the platform accrues this value. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, so that makes sense. But then you turn it into crypto, and you're like, okay, well, what's the corollary there in crypto? And I think maybe the answer is like almost just like prop AMMs, right? Where it's like the quote and the platform become the same thing, right? And then but then they're like, okay, then what are people trading through? Okay, it's Jupiter, right? Well, yeah, and then we kind of arrive at the question of, okay, but Jupiter or whatever router you're using, it's like, okay, how do they monetize? And I don't know, it's kind of like a weird derivative chain of like where like how many middlemen or how many steps can we take out of this? And I'm like, I don't know where that ends actually.
Yeah, I understand, but I will come back on what you said before. So Citadel, for example, is paying Robinhood for their order flow. Citadel is, I don't know the amount of this deal, but probably generate more money than they pay to Robinhood. Otherwise, it's not profitable for them, and they will not pay the order flow. That's what we calculate. To be honest, we think about like okay, how we can monetize like a flow of transaction, and we think strongly, we strongly believe like we can much more monetize a flow of transaction by doing this trading or this arbitrage instead of selling the order flow. So if we act this, at least it's our vision, um, then you need to execute on the chain. So that's what we do with the monetization layer, and we think about like, okay, if we arrive to monetize properly and much better than everyone a flow of transaction, um, yeah, I mean we drive more value to the platform so they can redistribute a bit for the users and the traders. This is like the vision we really want to give on the ecosystem, but also like we recently launched, for example, like a GApps ranking on Circular. um, I mean, majority of like the GApps ranking is based on the revenue they generate, or like on DeFi Llama or whatever. We don't rank from the revenue generated, but we rank from our own technology through like the revenue leaked to the ecosystem directly to link it to a platform. So we will say like, I don't have the numbers, but let's say today Axiom is leaked like $100,000. If it's like the biggest leak across the day, they will be ranked first. And what we want to implement in the future is kind of like a protection. These DApps, so showing like literally on the DApp ranking, this DApp is protected through the monetization layer and dispatch 25%, 50% of the profit directly to the user, and showing to everyone like we capture this amount of value through the flow of Action, the flow of GMGN or whatever, and we redispatch this amount of value leaked by the users. This is really the pushed vision. I mean, of course, we do it for the B2B, but yeah, what we really want to bring to the ecosystem is like a first split of the value between every actors in comparison to give everything to the main platforms. That's the current process, I would say, everyone use. We want to change a little bit that to give this protection to the apps, but also reward the users as a cashback for their activity.
Yeah, I guess my thought kind of just spitballing was like, I wonder if instead of like doing the cash back, if like it almost makes sense to become more of like a not exactly a prop AMM, because those work on certain assumptions, like given data feeds from external sources and whatnot, but almost more of like, hey, we will like hold inventory and quote better because we know that we'll be able to hedge out our own internal inventory, therefore saving users money that way, and maybe be able to pay the app directly and not have to worry about like all the rebate stuff. I don't know. That's it's the end of the end effect is just the same. I'm just like I think like if I was thinking about it, that would just be the way, at least in my head, that I would be like thinking about it directly. But again, at the end of the day, it's basically the same thing. It's kind of just like it's this math equation where it's like it doesn't matter what like if you're removing something from both sides of the equal sign, then it's still the same like math equation. You know what I mean? So yeah.
I understand perfectly your thought. So to be honest, I will not go so much in details, but we already thought about this. To be honest, like what we need right now, it's more transaction flow to increase the number of transactions we have in advance across the network. After we basically think about this, after reaching like 50% of the transaction in advance on the network, maybe we could like launch kind of a prop AMM or things like this, because we will have this ability to predict the market and the prices in advance, to create much efficient market making or efficient prop AMM. I will not go I try to be like really blur on my on what I say, because it's full intern data and full intern project for now. But yeah, we think about this. We need to reach and growth or flow of transaction on the monetization layer first. But yeah, we strongly think about this.
So I have a quick audience question. They asked it a little while ago, and I wanted to get to it before I forgot. So June asks, genuinely curious, what actually gives you an edge in Solana arbitrage that would not work on EVM?
Great question. I would say like first, EVM and SVM is like totally different way of arbitrage. Yeah, it's absolutely not the same way to do arbitrage, because just like the network and the infrastructure is like totally different on Solana in comparison to Ethereum or even Robinhood. To be honest, like I did a POC of arbitrage 2 weeks ago, I think, on Robinhood, to just try and yeah, I like to do POC, like small proof of concept, small project in like less than 1 day during the weekend to try things. And yeah, I mean, it's like so different. And our edge right now is to be on Solana for the past 3-4 years, and really have like a deep understanding of validators, of the network in general, that we don't really have on Ethereum. Like I will not be able, for example, to say like to explain all the MEV actors on EVM, even like not in Ethereum, in comparison to I think I know every actor on Solana. So our edge is first to have like a deep understanding of the network. Also starting by doing arbitrage in 2023. So we are like kind of a huge expertise on this ecosystem and this domain. And also the question can be asked is like, why companies is trusting us than not our competitor is because first we're the most trustable and public, I would say, a solution to monetize a transaction. Also, we have like a deep trustability on the monetization layer. That's what we bring first to this idea. It's like, oh, we give as much as possible traceability directly to our customer. So just for you to understand, every customer that send us a transaction, and like this transaction will generate like an arbitrage profit. First of all, everything is atomic, which means at the end of the arbitrage transaction, the profit is dispatched to the wallet of the customer. So we don't manage at any point the money of the customer. First. And second one, we push and we send to all of our customer monthly report with all the transaction they send to us, and also all the transaction that generate an arbitrage profit, also a breakdown of what's going on in the transaction, and also like the profit directly redistributes to them, or like a breakdown if they split with their users, how much they made, how much we redispatch directly to their users. And like, yeah, I think like the biggest point and the biggest difference between like the monetization layer and other solution on the market is this, like the traceability and the reports we give to our customer at the end of each month. And yeah, just like we bring this traceability with Circular on the overall arbitrage market and the overall MEV market. That's what we want to do with the monetization layer.
Yeah, I mean, that makes total sense. I mean, like, in some ways, I feel like EVM or even other chains that are not even EVM based, like are somewhat more simple to reason about when building these kinds of like systems. But Solana just works differently enough, and I know that you don't understand what like the reasons I'm saying this, but I'm trying to like figure out how much to say without like just putting the audience to sleep. But just like the structural architecture of like the actual VM, the virtual machine, aka like the you can think about it like the operating system of each chain. Um, there are so many complexities in Solana that just and for good reason, because it's part of what enables the performance, the single layer of composability and all this stuff. But there's a whole bunch of like these little idiosyncrasies and things like for example, like one thing that just messed a ton of people up like way back in the day was PDAs and how to interact with them, right? Especially like when
Mhm.
you're doing cross programming applications. And then for a long time, like durable nonces were messing people up, and you know what I mean. There's like all these like little weird things that you're like, okay, how does this work? How do I need to think about it? And what does it enable or disable, right? And that just doesn't exist somewhere else. So yeah, having that like depth of experience is definitely just a huge edge, right? And also, it just makes the market more competitive, right? Where it's like, okay, we've already got all this experience, and also it's harder, and we're already winning. So, like might as well stick around, right?
Solana wins. I mean, that's the story for every day of our lives. I mean, if we win so much it hurts, right? Like we just completely mog the EVM chains. But shout out
What?
to EVM. I don't want to say too many bad things because I grew up on EVM. So
Oh, this wasn't
Yeah,
even
me
like
too.
a.
And
Sorry, go ahead,
it's
brother.
still like a good technology. I would say like even with that what we saw like with Robinhood, they made like blocks with 100 milliseconds now. So EVM is still like quite okay technology. But if I compare, I think to be honest, I spend more time on EVM ecosystem than SVM ecosystem. If we bring back on 2017 to 2023. But yeah, if now I had the choice to choose, like, okay, I go back and I have the choice between Ethereum and Solana. Every day I go back on Solana. Like I go on Solana because I don't know, but I feel like more comfortable. If we speak about like the community, it's like much better than Ethereum, 100%. But if we don't think about only the community and like the volume and whatever, like for me, the architecture of Solana in terms of development in terms of usability, it's just much better. And the way I was onboarded on Solana, it's stupid to be honest, but it was this idea of I was doing my swap on Uniswap, okay, in the past on Ethereum. So I needed to approve my token, so give my authority to Uniswap to do swap on their DEX. Um, when I did a swap on Solana, I was like, I don't need to approve my token. What the fuck? I just sign my transaction. I see the preview, so the pre-post, like the comparison between post simulation of like the difference of the token I will have on my wallet. I just signed the transaction and I don't give any authority to anyone. That's the point that moved myself, I would say, on Solana. Then I start to discover the architecture and everything around Solana. But it was like the critical point of why I moved to Solana in the past. And yeah, I think just Solana is like much better thinked for the DeFi and for the high frequency trading in general. So yeah, for anything, I will move back on Ethereum. I think.
I think for me, I completely agree with this, and also it just helped that for me, like I was trying to learn like programming stuff and just even different programming languages and stuff. First of all, there's a couple different ways you can write like programs for EVM. None of them made any fucking sense to me. But like even just the fact that like it started out in Rust, I'm like, okay, this is a language that like at least in my brain just makes sense because it's like at the like level of abstraction where I'm like, okay, I can understand what's going on, but I'm not straight up writing assembly. You know what I mean? Like, um, but it's that whole model of like I was talking about, like with the PDAs. You know, what's a token account? It's basically a PDA that's it's basically a PDA that's owned by I think technically like the actual token program, but like the authority has to be signed by the owning wallet, right? Where it's like instead of hey, I give this program permission to do a thing, it's like I am doing a thing and the program gives me permission to do it. It, like is almost like the difference in like ways to think about it. And so like yeah, it's and that comes with a whole lot of complications, like we were talking about. But you kind of figure that out, and you're like, oh, now like this makes sense to me, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Of course, like I would say account is one of the biggest thing and the best thing on Solana. But yeah, no, nothing to say on that. I will uh, I will definitely choose Solana as a first blockchain. And I use like to be honest, I think it was like 2-3 years ago. I didn't since yeah from the last 3 past years ago. I didn't use Ethereum. I used Robinhood the 2 weeks ago for doing my proof of concept, but yeah, it was like at least 2 years I didn't use like an EVM chain. Just I can do everything on Solana now, so why using another chain?
And on your point about token approvals, absolute nightmare, especially when you have a hardware wallet. Oh
Yeah,
my God. Horrible. Just absolutely terrible experience. And I have reason to believe that token approvals are the reason that our NFTs have not come back from the dead. And maybe if we get rid of token approvals on EVM, maybe all my monkey pictures will go back to $500,000 each. Who knows?
maybe.
I would love to see another NFT renaissance, but it's not looking too good for our bags, man. We're kind of cooked. So maybe we'll be back someday. But so on the monetization layer, so who exactly is like the ideal customer for the monetization layer? Is this something you're building mainly for validators, mainly for retail? Is this just kind of a thing that's going to exist and people just make money from it from trading? How exactly is it going to be like presented to the market?
Yeah, so great, really good question. I think that everything can coexist. That's what we saw, like with harmonic or different technology, different validators. You can't really have 100% of the market, 100% of the validators, 100% of the dApps or whatever. So for me, like that can first coexist. Also, our focus right now is on two different kind of customers. Is first the application that creates the transaction. So it can be like a DApps trading platform. It can be a wallet. It can be like even a market maker itself that will push and forward us the transaction, and also the validators. But validators are much more harder to onboard because just take the example of a DApp. Let's say like Axiom. Axiom, for example, can just like do like a simple call on or endpoint and send off the transaction generated by their users, and we will do the arbitrage easily on their flow. But for a validator side, there is no like really implementation or really technology to forward the transaction when they receive it on the TPU or as like a harmonic bundle or Jito bundle. You don't have anything to forward it at this stage of the validator. The forward will arrive after the finalization, the finality of the transaction. So yeah, during the shreds forward. Basically, and so or with the like a gRPC stream, but yeah, it's harder for us to onboard validators because this. So it's easy to onboard validators when they have like a huge engineers team, because they will implement this kind of forwarding to a monetization layer with their team. But majority of the validators right now are not really able to do this patch, to do this fix on their validator, or they just don't have the time to do it because they have like a many things to do internally. That's why that's kind of like a sci-fi dream, I would say, on the Circular team. We're currently working on some patch for many different validators, especially Harmonic and Jito, Harmonic, Jito, JitoBAM, to let them have this opportunity to send us and connect their validator to our monetization layer more easily and more efficiently by just like watching like the patch we have as open source. Of course, we want to open source it. So just watching the different code and implement on their validator, or even using our fork directly into production. Right now, we are currently testing on testnet on a different type of validator that will be soon pushed on mainnet. And yeah, I think in few weeks we will be able to onboard much more validators. That's what we did in the past. So yeah, so currently our main customer is the apps, wallets, and just people creating transaction overall from a front end. Tomorrow, we want to onboard much efficiently validators by giving them this bridge, this technology to join us, because the biggest barrier right now we have with them is this lack of technology, or at least this non-implementation into the validators. Yeah, the team works pretty hard on this, and yeah, it's progressing pretty well, I would say.
How big is your team?
Right now we are 5.
5 people? Okay. And have you guys
Yeah,
raised?
we raised $400,000 in the last years, and right now we're considering another raising fund. So we're evaluating which kind of I would say way we should use to raise fund. We're at the stage of considering the raising fund and which way we will use, because we had a lot of users asking us to do a raising fund through MetaDAO or even Craft, which is like two completely different solution, I would say. I'm a biggest lover, I would say, of Craft because I really love this way of like, I would say, tokenizing a part of your company, and letting like your users buying not just a simple token, but a token that really represent the shares of your companies. But also MetaDAO is pretty good way to raise, if we consider their last raising fund. Like, the money they raise is just totally crazy, to be honest. And the new way they bring to Solana to raise fund, it's such a really crazy solution. Or just doing another raising fund through like Safe as the previous one. So yeah, right now we're open to find some good partner and yeah, I would say find the best way for us to raise funds.
Yeah, all the best. All the best. We've had a couple of guests
Thank
say
you.
very good things about MetaDAO, and I personally used them. I know some of the team members, but they're super based. I'll have to look into Craft. I don't think I've heard of them yet, but yeah, all the best luck on that. I did have another
Thank you.
question, real quick from the audience. I guess we only have 4 minutes left. In like 60 seconds, where do you think someone should start coming from EVM wanting to learn more about MEV on Solana?
So sorry, what was the question exactly?
Yeah, so if you could just explain really quickly, like if someone was pretty fluent in EVM and market dynamics on the EVM, what's the best resource for them to kind of get up to speed on Solana?
Mm, it's a great question. Resources, I would say it's hard. There's no many like resources, I would say, to be like really efficient on the market on Solana, at least right now. The way I will say what I will say is first use Circular. Not to say like Circular is the best and use it, but more in the way of um, I think the biggest point is to understand your competitors first. So you have a flow of transaction. Let's say like maybe you worked with the thread stream of Jiro. Everyone uses the thread stream of Jiro, so it's we can use it as an example. You analyze your threads, like the transaction that goes on your flow. You understand, and you will let's say find an opportunity and you will try to execute this arbitrage opportunity on the blockchain into a block. The first thing to see is and to watch is who is your competitor and where are they in the block. If the opportunity land, I would say on the index 1 of the block, so on top of the block, and your transaction land at the bottom of the block at the index 1000, let's try to find what's happening during this this range of index 1 to index 1000, so the trade transactions to the arbitrage transaction. If you saw some people doing kind of the same transaction as you, tagged as an arbitrage or whatever, you will understand it's your competitor, and then you can adjust your tips, your fees, to try just to find like the best sweet spot between how much you spend as a fees and tips and how much your competitor spends to be just on top of them, but also being sure to be profitable. I think it's the best counsel I can give. Watch the block on Circular, because we tag the transaction, we tag the token, so it's like so easy, to be honest, to analyze a block and just the overall transaction across arbitrage, but also across trade from the block page. And yeah,